In today's video, I show you Beyond the Trenches of Despair by Saucerman Studios. But before we get into today's video, just want to share with you what the GGGGs are for this month. Each month, Bob the Beholder picks some of my Patreon supporters to receive gratitude gifts. And for this month of October of 2025, we have 2 pledges for the Darkshire 3 campaign. We have $100 towards the Mega Dungeon Kickstarter. And we have 2 pledges for this campaign. Bob is going to be making his picks this upcoming Sunday, November 2nd. Go ahead and use the link below to go to my Patreon page where you can get in on this month's gratitude gifts and be chosen by Bob. I do have a painting tutorial at the end of this video, so go ahead and use the timestamp if you want to skip ahead. But I have been looking for 3D printable terrain that I can use for Trench Crusade. And here on the board, I have some of my factions, which I 3D printed. But also I have the Tradera faction from Shadows of Brimstone also on the board, as I feel like that is thematically fitting. But I'm super impressed with these files. They print really cleanly, which is the case for all of Saucerman Studios STLs, and I print everything at 0.2 millimeter height, which I think is plenty of detail for terrain. And I was able to paint up all of this to fit on a 2x2 standard size for Trench Crusade in one evening. I just love the variety that is here, and I love the fact that he mixes up sort of this metal corrugated siding in addition to combining it with the wooden sides. And they are a standard 3 inches tall, which is perfect for Trench Crusade. I also really like these really cool bunkers. It adds a little bit more variety so that everything isn't brown, but a little bit of gray, along with some of these gates and these tank traps. Also super cool are these artillery guns that are included in the campaign, which I think is super cool. And there is a bunch more others that are currently being unlocked, and I am going to do a walkthrough in just a little bit. But just wanted to showcase how cool this terrain is. You don't have to use it only for Trench Crusade. I'll probably use it also for one-page rules for my tabletop wargaming. But overall, I really like how well this turned out. And this is just a small fraction of all of the files that are going to be available. The lids do come off of these bunkers so that you can put your miniatures on the inside to receive that cover bonus. And I also like the inclusion of these half-stepped terrain in addition to these altars. So if you've also been looking for a set that could work for Trench Crusade, look no further, as I think this campaign has a ton of options for you. So let's go ahead and go over to the computer and I can walk you through the campaign that is currently underway. So go ahead and use the link below to go to this Kickstarter page where currently it has a little more than 2 weeks left to go. So go ahead and make sure to jump in on this. It's going to end on November 18th and so far has raised almost $15,000 as the time of this filming. Let's go ahead and take a look at the various pledge levels. You have the all-in, which is about $55 US, and you're going to get all of the files. Delivery will be happening in December. The only other option was the early bird, which would have saved you about $10, but that is no longer available. So really there is just only one pledge. Core set has over 50 STL files, and this is what I printed out was the core set. Now they did have a fortified version of all of the walls, but I didn't print those out because I just like the aesthetic of the base set that is shown here. And that does include the bunkers as well as the scatter terrain. Here are some of the stretch goals, and I really like these concrete defenses. I'll probably be printing some of those out as well as more scatter terrain, concrete debris that's shown down here. There is an option of lower height walls, so some traditional trenches that you can create. I was more interested in the taller ones. And there's almost a large fortress that you're able to build with this great wall. That includes some ruined sections here. I printed out these battle shrines, and then there are some robo walls. Again, this is the kind of scatter terrain that I really look for in STL campaigns, just because I just don't think you can have enough of these smaller types of terrain. And interestingly, this campaign also includes ruined buildings that you can put on top of the embattlements. As I mentioned before, you have these artillery stations. I went ahead and added the wheeled version, which I think looks cool. And you're able to create oversized embattlements, as you can see here, of different sizes. And various other pieces. If you want to custom make your own by maybe using some pink insulation foam and create your own sort of trenches, it does come with these sides that you can print out. So I think that's a really cool feature. Here it just shows some examples of various builds that you can have. And I think these are 4x4s, which are pretty large boards. Here's some printed examples. Once again, I print everything out in 0.2mm height, which I think is plenty of detail. And as always, you can add on from previous campaigns. I've done a number of videos for Flatline City, which I think is one of the most versatile sci-fi terrain sets that you can get. So just tons of different options if you want to jump in on some of the previous campaigns that they've had. So there you have it. Hopefully this video is helpful for you. If you can do me a favor and hit the like button and the subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 50,000 subscribers. I'm pretty close to that, so any amount of help, I would totally appreciate it. And again, use the link below to go to my Patreon page where you can get in on this month's gratitude gifts, in which 2 pledges for this campaign is up for one of the GGGGs. So stick around if you want to see the painting tutorial, but happy printing, happy gaming. We'll see you next time. All right, first things first, I spray primed everything with this flat earth brown from Rust-Oleum Camouflage 2x Ultra Cover. And I also print all of my prints in black PLA, because when I miss spots like here, it really doesn't matter because it's black underneath, so I don't have to be quite as precise. Especially if I used a lighter color PLA, I would have to be a lot more careful and make sure I get into all the cracks and crevices. But because it's black, it doesn't matter. I can be a little bit sloppy in how I spray paint all of these. That's the first step, is to get this nice, really dark brown onto here. Now, one of the things that I really like about these files is that it's a mixture of different kinds of materials. So you'll notice that this is all wood panels here, but here you have corrugated metal. And then it goes back to wood, and then more metal pieces. This whole side is corrugated metal, and then you have these metal crosses in here. And then even on this piece, the only metal is right here. So what you want to do is, first thing is grab some Rookwood Red. I don't think that they make this anymore, Americana, but I know you can get Antique Maroon. So anything that's sort of this rusted red color is what you're going for. The maroon is a little bit darker. Doesn't matter, either one. And here I'm grabbing this hog's hair brush. It's really stiff. Affiliate link in the description below. For those of you who are in the United States, you can use the Amazon link and buy yourself a set. These are relatively cheap. They come in a whole set of maybe about a dozen different size brushes. And what I'm going to do, oh, that's a little bit too much paint. You don't want it to be that watery. Is just splotch some of that color randomly wherever there's some metal. Sort of like that. And if you've printed out these big guns, you definitely want to get it on the metal here in random spots, like so. Yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, now we're going to use some zinc, which is a pretty dark silver. And we're going to lightly just go over all of the metal corrugated parts and just sort of lightly dry brush them, like so. And see, I'm not being super careful. I don't care that it's getting on these wooden beams here, because we're going to go over that with brown next. But want to make sure that I get all of the corrugated metal. And it isn't that much, it's just very lightly putting on a dry brush just so that you can tell it's sort of metal. With these guns you want to be pretty more liberal with the silver, but again still dry brushing, mostly trying to catch the edges. Like so. Alright, one of my favorite browns is milk chocolate. This is sort of my go-to for all wood. And see with the hog's brush how it still leaves a lot of the edges, revealing the dark brown. And towards the bottom I actually don't put as much paint because I want towards the bottom to be darker. And so I'll put down a layer. And this is the reason why we did the metal first, so that I could go back and get these wooden beams. Like I said, with the, even though I have this big hog's brush, these beams are lifted up far enough away from the metal that I can just go ahead and use this big brush just to put some of the brown down like so, and cover over. And even if there's some silver that are remaining on, that's fine, it's not that big a deal, because you don't want super clean paint on trench terrain. You want it all to be sort of dirty and messy. And so this is sort of more the look that you're going for. And again, it doesn't have to be super clean, but just enough on there, like so. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and grab some dark gray zinc. And these are for all of the concrete. So let's start with some bunkers here. And you can do dark gray undercoat for anything that is concrete or stone. But the reason why I use brown is because it ties it all in, and especially with trenches where there's just mud all over the place, again, it just ties it in with that sort of bleak look where everything is dirty and muddy. And like the wood, I don't bother to put that much down towards the bottom edge. And I actually leave quite a bit of the brown still showing. So it doesn't even have to be even, but just sort of like this. It can be splotchy. And then I did these tank traps as well. And then these altars, I'm going to go ahead and make gray and stone. I think they're stone because there's cracks along them. I'm using my acrylic paint pen. Did a video of this. If you don't have these, just use regular paintbrush. And I'm just using black just to highlight the hinges and the this pull handle. And then if I had time, I'd probably do all of the rivets, but that's going to take too much time. I need to get this done. Also using this for the candles.